This is Static Attic Season 1, Episode 7, and the guest this episode is Deltalys. What's up, Ray?
How's it going?
We're going to talk to you a little bit in a few minutes, but first let's just hear some music. Once again, we're here with Deltalys Thank you, Ray, for being on the show. So the music you're playing, it's very it's kind of an entire mood. It's very like evocative. What kind of inspires you to create music in this style, and how would you describe it?
It's kind of just whatever I need to get out of my head, usually. A lot of times my music is inspired by what I'm listening to at the time. Um, so it could be inspired by any genre of music or a combination of things. Um, I don't typically do a lot of like conceptual music, like music writing. It's usually just kind of like more by the feeling of it.
Sure.
Um, but with my solo project, as opposed to like other projects, it's really I don't put a lot of parameters on myself. I like to kind of just let it be as free form as possible and just make whatever I make, and then if I decide it's worth sharing, I'll finish it.
Well, you're using a mixture of electronic beats and backing instruments, and combined with live elements. Using the guitar and vocal effects and things like that. What got you into doing all these different styles blended?
um, I mean, I think it's really again just like the different influences, but I just can't really pick one thing. Like I can't just do, a dance track or like a acoustic guitar track. Like I have to add in all the elements until I feel like it's a completed piece or whatever.
Sure.
Um, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I do have a background in painting, so I like to. A lot of times I think of making music in the same way that I paint.
Yeah.
Whenever I get around to doing that. And it's a lot of layering things until I feel like it's a fully established piece of art or music.
How do you typically start the production?
A lot of times more recently, I start with a beat or um, sometimes even when I'm making one track, I'll come up with an effect. Like I usually make a lot of my own effects.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be working on one track and I'll make an effect that's not right for that track, but I want to keep that in mind. So I'll like start a new track with just like a synth line, and like that's what I base it around. With some of these older tracks, I was doing more of like a traditional songwriting style, where I would start by just like writing a song on guitar and singing it, and then I would build a track around that.
Is it a typically a slower process, or is it something that is kind of rapid, or?
When I work by myself, I actually work like probably too fast, because there's no one to like bounce things off of or like to make me second guess myself. It's just like only my decisions in my head. So yeah, a lot of times when I work by myself, I've made a whole EP in a weekend or whatever. Like I just
Cool.
get so into it, and I don't have to wait on anyone else to do anything. So it is really fun to have this outlet for myself to work on things. Um, that being said, I do also really appreciate and benefit from working with other people because it slows me down in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And it's good to feed off of other people's creativity and insight too. So I like to have the balance. Usually I'm working on something on my solo project at the same time as working on something with someone else.
Right. So you're one half of the Parlor Pinks with Ash, who produces this show, and that is a multimedia sort of experience. There's a lot of visual elements, and you incorporate some visual elements into your performances as well. How do you try to find that, like, the right visuals for the mood? Is it something you create new every time, or is it something that kind of is a standard set piece?
Like for my solo music or for the Parlor Pinks?
Both, actually.
Well, for the Parlor Pinks, Ash actually does all of the visual elements. With my solo project, I do all of the album artwork, and if I was performing more, I would probably do more involved visuals, but it's usually just pretty minimal. I kind of like to keep it simple and moody, typically.
It's definitely moody, but like in a really good way. Um, you have a couple more songs. Why don't we take a listen to some of those?
There is someone lost in your heads.
Ray, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for having me out to your house to record the music session. Where can people find more Deltalys music online?
So I have my music on Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Probably the easiest way to find it is to actually go to the Parlor Pinks page and then follow the links in our bio. Just because Deltalys is spelled kind of funky, but yeah. So you can listen to both of them at the same time.
What about visual art? Do you have stuff out there that you're pushing right now?
Yeah. Actually, I have everything that I make is on my website, and it's deltalysmedia.com.
Okay.
And I have a section for painting, graphic design, music, and I have all my music projects on there as well.
Awesome. And you did the graphics for this show as well.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for those. They look really good. So
I agree.
So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
When we were speaking earlier, you mentioned you just recently released a Halloween EP, and of course, it's now October. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I kind of secretly released it last October, but there was a lot going on in the world, so we'll announce it now. So yeah, I have a Halloween themed EP. It's called Bats. The first 2 tracks that I played were off of that EP, and then the last track that I played. Yeah, I love Halloween, and I've made so much music about Halloween, but yeah, it was kind of a dream come true to make my own little solo project, just a little spooky thing. So yeah, it's on my Spotify and all the platforms.
Well, once again, Ray, I want to thank you for being on the show. Do you have any parting thoughts?
I'm just really happy to have an opportunity to play my solo music that doesn't get to be played a lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, thanks.
This show debuts on Twitch, and in a few days it will be available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. Of course, the easiest way to help us grow and support the show is by subscribing on Twitch with a Prime sub, or if you want to support us, go to patreon.com/staticaddictpod. It helps us upgrade our equipment and pay website hosting fees, etc., etc. So if you can afford to do that, please do. And if you can't, that's fine. Just maybe do something like leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, or give us a subscribe, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff on YouTube. All of those things help us grow the audience for this show, and in turn grow audience for the independent artists that we are very enthusiastic about here. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to Static Attic.